Good afternoon, Chairperson, adjudicators, and members of the audience. My name is Orlaith Condren, and I am here representing Haywood Community School. My chosen topic is men and boys need to play a larger part in tackling gender equality for women. I believe this is crucial for achieving global gender equality. In this speech, I will cover all the evidence stating why men and boys need to play a larger part in tackling gender equality, including education. In the Western world, women often take for granted the fact that we are entitled to the same education as men. Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates of education exclusion. According to UNESCO statistics, 1/5 of children aged between 6 and 11 do not attend school. Another 1/3 of children are not in school between the ages of 12 and 14, and according to the UIS, almost 60% of children aged between 15 and 17 do not go to school at all. And how many of those are girls? Well, shockingly, the UIS states that across the region, 9 million girls aged 6 to 11 will never go to school. By the time they are teenagers, the exclusion rate is 36%. How is this fair? Just because these innocent girls are born a certain gender, their rights are automatically diminished. It is plain ludicrous. So, how can men and boys help? Men and women alike need to work together. It is the simple fact that there are more men in power than women, and that is why men and boys must help. If men's attitudes towards women's education doesn't change, then we cannot achieve anything for the young girls that this affects. It has become obvious that men don't feel as if they can do anything to help, when it is, in fact, the complete opposite. In 1901, there were only 91 women in universities in Ireland. However, these figures rose steadily. About a quarter of university students were female in the 1950s, 1/3 in the 1960s, and about half in the 1990s. By 2000, more than half of those enrolled in third level education were women. The British government passed the Sex Disqualification Removal Act 1919, which remains in the Irish statute books today, which gave women access to careers such as law and veterinary surgery. Unfortunately, this received much opposition. John A. Evans made what would now be an extremely controversial statement to argue the law. He said, "Nor are women physically fit, or would it be decent for her to castrate, fire, calve, foal, or many other jobs that a busy veterinary surgeon is constantly doing. There is a delicacy over such matters, proper that it should be so." Perhaps men in sub-Saharan Africa feel this way about women's education now. How and why did it change in Ireland? Was it time? Or did men eventually just realise that women deserve the same rights? Women have suffered long enough. It is time they receive the same education as men and boys, globally. In a society where it seems as if we can't get any more advanced, there are still gaps in gender equality which need to be closed. Both men and women suffer from a clouded view of what men and women should be. Men are perceived as strong and dominating, while women are seen to be gentle and delicate. Why? Historically speaking, this is what the genders were. But it is the 21st century. It is time we let go of gender stereotypes. The issue is that young children are seeing these gender stereotypes and feeling as if they have to be like that because everyone else is. If men realise that gender equality is not something that is trying to overpower them, perhaps they would be willing to help. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, most men and boys deem gender equality as feminism or man-hating. This is not the case. We have to realise that men and boys are not fully understanding what we are trying to achieve, so they stay away. Ravi Verma, director of the International Centre for Research on Women's Work in Asia, said, "Discussions can become very uncomfortable. Boys feel threatened. These are deeply entrenched patriarchal systems. This is not a one-off kind of programme. This emphasises that we need to help and educate men and boys on gender equality and why they are a fundamental part of achieving it. In a time where technology is at the forefront of almost everything, we are learning more than ever about discrimination towards women and what is being done about it. It seems almost nothing. There are several barriers in the way of women's empowerment, and yet women's rights are under threat all around the world. From moves to defund family planning services in the US to Russia's decision to decriminalise some forms of domestic violence, it seems too difficult to invest in scarce gender equality projects which target men and boys. These projects must target changing attitudes among men and boys in order to create lasting improvements for women and girls. In 2014, UN Women launched the high-profile He for She Solidarity campaign to engage men and boys to become change agents towards the achievement of gender equality, with then US President Barack Obama as a supporter. They now have almost 2 million commitments. Well-known celebrities such as Harry Styles, Tom Hiddleston, and Eddie Redmayne have said they are He for She. This is the progress we need from everyone. In her United Nations He for She campaign speech, Emma Watson highlighted the issues surrounding gender inequality. She said, "How can we affect change in the world when only half of it is invited or feel welcome to participate in the conversation? Men, I would like to take this opportunity to extend your formal invitation. Gender equality is your issue too. Men and women seem to be at war for a simple misunderstanding: gender inequality. There is no need for war. Men and women are not enemies. We are allies." Thank you.